Good evening. This is a special night for me. Exactly 3 years ago, on July 15th, 1976, I accepted the nomination of my party to run for President of the United States. I promised you a president who was not isolated from his people, who feels your pain, who shares your dreams, and who draws on his strength and wisdom from you. During the past 3 years, I've spoken to you on many occasions about national concerns, the energy crisis, reorganizing the government, our national economy, issues of war, and especially peace. But over those years, the subjects of the speeches, the talks, and the press conferences have become increasingly narrow, focused more and more on what the isolated world of Washington thinks and is important. Gradually, you've heard more and more about what the government thinks or what the government should be doing, and less about the nation's hopes and dreams and our vision of the future. 10 days ago, I had planned to speak to you again about a very important subject: energy. For the fifth time, I would have described the urgency of the problem and laid out the series of legislative recommendations to the Congress. But as I was preparing to speak, I began to ask myself the same question that I have now known what has been troubling you. Why have we not been able to get together as a nation to resolve our serious energy problem? It is clear the true problems of our nation are much deeper, deeper than gasoline lines or energy shortages, deeper than inflation or recession. And I realize more than ever as a president, I need your help. So I decided to reach out and listen to the voices of America. I invited to Camp David people from almost every segment of social society: business and labor, teachers and preachers, governors, mayors, and private citizens. And then I left Camp David to listen to other Americans, men and women like you. It has been an extraordinary 10 days, and I want to share with you what I've heard. First of all, I've gotten a lot of personal advice. Let me quote a few of the typical comments that I've wrote down. This is from a Southern governor. Mr. President, you're not leading this nation. You're just managing the government. You don't see the people enough anymore. Some of your cabinet members don't seem loyal. There is not enough discipline among your disciples. Don't talk to us about politics or the mechanics of government, but about an understanding of our common good. Mr. President, we're in trouble. Talk to us about blood and sweat and tears. If you lead, Mr. President, we will follow. Many people talked about themselves and about the condition of our nation. This is from a young woman from Pennsylvania. I feel so far from the government. I feel like ordinary people are excluded from political power. And this is from a young Chicagoan. Some of us have suffered from recession all our lives. Some people have wasted energy, but others haven't had anything to waste. And this is from a religious leader. No material shortage can touch the important things like God's love for us or for love for one another. And I like this one particularly from a black woman who happens to be the mayor of a small Mississippi town. The big shots are not the only ones who are important. Remember, you can't sell anything on Wall Street unless someone digs it up somewhere else first. This kind of summarizes a lot of the other statements. Mr. President, we are confronted with a moral and spiritual crisis. Several of our discussions were on energy, and I have a notebook full of comments and advice. I'll read just a few. We can't go on consuming 40% more energy than we produce. When we import oil, we are also importing inflation plus unemployment. We've got to use what we have. The Middle East only has 5% of the world's energy, but the United States has 24%. And this is one of the most vivid statements. Our neck has stretched over the fence, and OPEC has a knife. There will be other cartels and other shortages. American wisdom and courage right now can set the path to follow in the future. But this was a good one. Be bold, Mr. President. We may make mistakes, but we are ready to experiment. And this one was from a labor leader, got to the heart of it. The real issue is freedom. We must deal with the energy problem on a war footing. And the last that I'll read. When we enter the moral equivalent of war, Mr. President, don't issue us BB guns. These 10 days confirm my belief in the decency and the strength and the wisdom of the American people, but it also bore out some of my long-standing concerns about our nation's underlying problems.